The Rock Island Armory MAPP in 22 TCM. Let's check it out. Guys, I shoot a lot of handguns, and one of my favorite calibers to take to the range is the 22 TCM. This is a 22 caliber bullet. It's actually a neck down 223 case, and it's going 2,000 feet per second out of a pistol. The fireball that emits from the muzzle is impressive, and it's one of those rounds that is just super light recoil. It's a lot of fun, and Rock Island Armory actually designed this along with Fred Craig, who is a Wildcat designer, and Martin Twasson, which that's where the T comes in, and then Craig for the C, and then Micro Mag, 22 Micro Mag, and that's what this was called originally, and really made to go into the 1911. This holds 10 rounds of 22 TCM. It's just a great pistol to take to the range. But one of the things that I have been wanting to see is something that's a little more modern, maybe a double stack magazine that's more of a modern style pistol. Now the MAPP is not something new for Rock Island Armory, but it's new to me, and we just got a hold of one of these. It fires the 22 TCM 9R. It's just a touch shorter to fit in your standard 9mm magazines. And so this is based on the CZ design, and I'll tell you what guys, this is a lot of fun at the range. I love that flame. Now the Rock Island MAAP is a very familiar gun, mainly because this is actually designed by Tanfoglio, which is an Italian company that makes a clone that's CZ designed. In fact, I had one of the 45s with the EAA Witness that again is the same kind of design. And there are a number of other companies that make them because this design is one of the most copied designs in the world next to the 1911. Now let's go ahead and make sure the gun is unloaded. We're going to drop our magazine, check the chamber, and it's empty. This is a 16 round magazine. You get 2 with the gun. They are CZ75 magazines. So that makes it really nice because you know they're plentiful. There's a lot of different companies that make them. So that gives you a lot of options. You'll notice that the hammer is in the rear position, and it is a double action pistol. We're going to go ahead and pull the trigger, but that way when you pull the trigger it does actuate the hammer. But this is a cocked and locked. When you hit that frame safety, it locks it into the rear position. So unless you hit a dead round, there's no reason that you're going to shoot this in double action unless you decide to lower the hammer. And that can be dangerous, so you need to be careful with that. I would just choose to carry it cocked and locked. Now this pistol, it's polymer frame, has the internal slide rails, which we're going to look at a little closer in just a second. But the big thing that I want to talk about is the caliber. Now, this is the 22 TCM. This was actually developed from 223 brass, and it's cut off and necked way down with a 22 caliber bullet. This is going 2,000 feet per second. The bullet is a 40 grain bullet. You can see it's a soft point. And Armscor actually makes this ammunition, and Armscor is one of the Rock Island Armory companies. But this round is a little bit too long for your standard 9mm magazine. Actually, this is about the same size as a 38 Super. And so it'll fit in your 1911 magazines, but it won't fit in your standard double stack magazines. So what they did is design the 22 TCM 9R. And that means that it'll fit in 9mm magazines. So here we are. If you try to put the standard 22 TCM in here, it's just going to be too long. It will not go all the way down. Instead, they seated it deeper, And that way you've got a 39 grain bullet that fits perfectly in the magazine. And this is a hollow point. So this round is very comparable to the FN57. Now, one of the other impressive things about this firearm is the fireball that comes out. I mean, it is tremendous. Now, you could see it during the day while we're shooting, and you can see the fireball. In fact, it came out as a giant ring in a lot of videos. I put some videos up on Instagram, and it was it was really incredible. But I've also shot the 22 TCM at night quite a bit. And I want to have some footage here. I'm not shooting the MAPP. I'm actually shooting one of their 1911s. But the fireball is just unbelievable.
Did you see that fireball on that screen? You weren't watching the screen, but that thing lit up.
I'm just hoping it caught that.
I'll tell you that, I mean, it's like a 4 or 5 foot fireball coming out of the end. And that has a lot to do with just the hypervelocity. Again, you know, Martin Towson calls this the 22 micro mag. And it is incredible. And now here we have one of the Rock Island Armory 22 TCMs, 1911s. Got the magazine, the gun is empty. You can see how easy that slide comes back. And it's just because of the pressure. It's just a very low recoil round. But what's really neat about the 1911 pistols is that they typically come with a 9mm barrel. So you can shoot a 9mm conversion barrel in here, you can shoot your 9mm, and then when you want to switch to 22 TCM, it's really easy to do. So that's one of the huge appeals of the 1911. But I think that the MAPP kind of updates it quite a bit. And you have your double stack magazine. It's a lighter pistol because of the polymer frame, and it's just I love having this capability. But at this point right now, they do make this in the 9mm, and then of course they do make the 22 TCM version. But I have not seen a conversion barrel for these yet with the 9mm. Now these are made in the Philippines, but from what I understand, they're made on Tanfoglio parts. In fact, right here at the frame, it says Tanfoglio. And then here we have Philippines. So from what I understand, these guns are made by Tanfoglio, or at least parts, and then they are assembled in the Philippines. Now, I may be wrong on that, but that's from what I understand, that's the information. You can see here on the slide it says Philippines as well. So the slides may be made in the Philippines, but you can see how low this rides to the frame. And that's one of the things about the CZ design. It's a very low bore axis. The rails are internal, so the rails are on the frame itself, and so this rides inside the frame, and it makes a very stable, very smooth shooting handgun. We have an adjustable square notch sight at the back with serrations. Now here at the front we have a white dot that's a contrast, but I believe this is milled into the slide, so I don't think you can change out that front sight. The hammer's notched, and you have a really nice beaver tail. It's got that CZ angle grip, and it fits really well in the hand. The texturing is just exceptional. And it's just a really soft shooting handgun. And it's also fairly lightweight. The weight on the MAPP, 1 pound, 12.2 ounces. It's 7.5 inches in length, it's 5 1/3 inches in height, and it's 1.5 inches in width. And a lot of that has to do with the standard controls on either side. And the barrel is 3.8 inches. It does have a 1913 Picatinny rail, 2 slots, rounded trigger guard. Again, this is just a very smooth frame, and reminiscent of a lot of other handguns. I know the European American Armory, EAA, Tanfoglio. I think even some of the Turkish guns like the SAR, a lot of those guns, Salsermaz, because of the CZ design, you know, there's a lot of different copies made. And one of the things about CZ is in 1975 it was designed, and Czech was part of the Soviet bloc or the communist bloc nations, and they had an internal patent, but it was not an international patent. And so because of that, a lot of companies began to copy that design because they were free to do so. And so it's been a very popular design, and it still is today. In fact, CZ75s and the CZ75 family is just an excellent firearm, and this takes a lot of cues from that pistol. Make sure the gun is unloaded, the magazine is out. We're going to check the trigger pull. Now in single action, just a little bit of take up right there, and a little hesitation, and then a nice break. Reset right there. Double action is a really heavy pull. But again, there's going to be no reason to have double action on this pistol unless you hit a dead round. Let's check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 4 pounds, 6.5 ounces. 4 pounds, 6.3 ounces. 4 pounds, 5.4 ounces. That's pretty consistent, so just a little under the 4.5 pound mark. Let's try double action. Got a 12-pound limit on my scale. 10 pounds, 9.5 ounces. So it's really pretty hefty trigger pull. But again, single action is what you're going to be concerned with. Now, I really appreciate Armscor for sending some of the TCM 9R. Definitely, like we've seen, it's a little bit shorter than the standard TCM to fit in these magazines. Now guys, I'm telling you, the first thing you're going to notice is the giant fireball that comes out of the end of this handgun. I mean, it's just impressive. And when you see that fireball, you're thinking, wow, that's going to have a lot of power behind it. It does, because the velocity is there. I mean, it's going again around 2,000 feet per second. But the recoil is so mild. In fact, when you pull back the slide, it's a very light spring. And it really doesn't take a whole lot. Add that to the CZ inspired design with the internal slide rails and just that super low bore axis, and it's a lot of fun to take to the range.
Just got assaulted with those shells. Just got assaulted with those shells.
And you know, guys, I'll tell you, it doesn't matter who they are, they're going to be able to shoot this gun and really enjoy it. But also, there have been a lot of tests done with the T22 TCM, and it can be an effective self-defense round as well. So I think it really has a run for its money with the 5.7. I haven't been able to test them side by side, which I would like to. I just don't have a 5.7 that I could compare to it yet. But hopefully that'll be remedied soon. Now, as far as malfunctions go, the gun just ran beautifully. We did have one time where a case failed to be extracted and it was stuck into the chamber. We took a little rod, popped it out. That was really the only malfunction we had the entire time we were shooting. And we shot over 250 rounds. Alright, to disassemble the firearm, we're going to drop our magazine, make sure the gun is unloaded. Bring back your slide. You'll notice these two notches. You want to just line them up. This is standard CZ75 disassembly. I take a magazine because it's kind of tight. Just push it, then you can bring out your takedown pin. And then the slide will just come right off. Recoil spring and guide rod. It's not captive, and then we have our Browning linkless design. And then of course this really low riding slide. Notice that the rails ride inside the slide. So it rides inside the frame here and here. And so it makes it a very low bore axis, and it just kind of fits, as you can see, right down into the frame. And that's typical CZ stuff, and CZ is a very smooth shooting, very accurate system. Now you notice the barrel has a little bit of a protrusion. It kind of thickens up here. We have a nice polished feed ramp. Here you have your firing pin safety. So honestly, you could carry this with the hammer down and it should be fine. And then we have our inertia firing pin, or floating firing pin. So, you know, that would probably be fine to carry it in the down position. And then that first shot would be double action. Now for reassembly, just in reverse order, drop in your barrel, recoil spring and guide rod. It's really simple with this 22 TCM. It's a very light spring. Now we're going to align our two dots there, bring in our takedown pin, pop it into place, and we're ready to go. Now as far as ammo goes, I've seen it at Cabela's, I've seen it at Academy. And some other places, but this is usually not common in a lot of the gun shops. but it does run online between $16.99 and $19.99. But again, typically this is not going to be available at most of your local retail outlets. The manufacturer suggested retail price of the MAPP is $449, and I saw it in a number of places for around $330 to $350. So it's a very reasonable option. But then if you really like the 1911, you've got that styling too. So I think it's a really cool cross section between the two. And, Rock Island Armory really just kind of stands outside of a lot of the other companies. And Martin Twassen is one of my favorite guys. I mean, he's from the Philippines. His family grew up producing guns. In fact, I did an interview with him at Rock Island Armory booth at NRA a couple of years ago. And it is just really fascinating. And so if you ever get to go to the NRA show or SHOT or whatever, and you get a chance to stop by, talk to Martin, he is just a top-notch guy. Now, pros and cons of the pistol. Number one, this design has been around for a while. EAA and Tenfolio, have produced these pistols for a long time, and so they have a pretty good track record. And of course, a lot of the Turkish designs, whether it's the SAR or the Salsarmaz, they're coming in with this same design, and it's been proven. It is a polymer, fairly lightweight pistol, 16-in-1. CZ magazines, that's a big plus. You can get magazines very easily. This nice CZ grip, it's very ergonomic. It fits well in the hand. It's got a natural point of aim with the beaver tail. So those are positives. Then the low slide in the frame, low bore axis. That again to me is a positive. Now, a couple of things that are negative though is that you have your fixed front sight, and so you can't change them out. But if you're having some kind of problems, you've got an adjustable rear sight, so you can change that and adjust it to whatever you want to. So that's definitely a positive, but you still, to me, have a negative. Another thing that is a negative is the ammo. You're not going to be able to walk into any gun shop and just find 22 TCM or 22 TCM-R especially. Seems like the 22 TCM is more plentiful, and the R is getting out there. It doesn't have SAMI specs. Other ammunition companies are not making this ammo. But there are a number of different dies for the 22 TCM and components. So brass, bullets. And so there are some options out there, but that's something that, you're going to have to look at, and it was definitely a con. The price is definitely a pro, though. It's, about $330, $350. So it's not a bad price at all. If you go with the 1911 with the 9mm conversion barrel, that takes care of a lot of issues with ammo. You can shoot the 9mm as much as you want, and then, shoot the 22 TCM when you just want to, and just for special occasions or whatever you want to do. So those are definitely some positive things. But overall, it's a lot of fun to shoot, low recoil, lightweight and handy, and especially for those beginners, because it's that wow factor, especially with that fireball coming out of the end. Now, one thing I do want to address is self-defense capability. And according to Rock Island Armory, it's made for hunting and plinking and having fun. But they have been, over the past few years, really promoting this more as a self-defense option. It has a really high velocity. The ballistics actually seem pretty good. As far as gel test and things like that. But, it's still a 22 caliber bullet, 39 to 40 grains. So, it's going to be one of those things where it can be used for self-defense, but I wouldn't say that this is an optimal choice for self-defense. Definitely better than your rimfire 22s, but, and for those who, may have weak hand strength or, are recoil sensitive, this could be a good option. But that's just up to you as far as your choice. I haven't done a lot of testing as far as for self-defense, and that's probably something that we should be looking at coming up. I want to thank Rock Island Armory for sending the MAPP for this test and evaluation. Guys, I'll tell you what, if you're looking for something that's light on recoil, that has a lot of velocity and has a huge fireball that goes out of the end, this is an awesome pistol. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. windage issues, you know, that could be a little bit of a problem. Wait. And really with the lightweight frame and a lot of the modern features, you know, it doesn't... The Rock Island Armory map, the Rock Island Armory MAPP. Oh, what is it? Is it the MAPP?
I love that fireball. That is just awesome. Come on, batter up. Got your magazine?
Guys, if you're wondering about why I'm in front of the Hummer, it's because we have some neighbors over here that just don't know how to turn down the volume. That's okay, I'm going to the range now.